Hey y'all, welcome back to part 18, the final part of this horse trailer renovation series. So today I'm going to be doing a lot of basically all the things that I've been putting off to do, like extra trim work and painting and touch up, and I'm even going to do an accent wall and a couple other surprises that I think you guys are going to like. So right now I am starting off by basically marking this metal trim piece. This is going to go on the bed of the gooseneck because when you get up and down, if you put a regular piece there, just like a plastic piece of trim, it'll come off really easily. So I wanted a metal trim piece that I can screw directly into the gooseneck part, and it's going to hold up a lot better with friction and all that other stuff that happens when you go up and down the gooseneck to get into the bed. Now, while I've painted that and that's drying, I'm going to go ahead and put some polyurethane on these countertops. And so one's a countertop, one's a step, one's a table, one is the top to one of the cabinets I built for the TV. So kind of a smorgasbord of finishes here, but this is just regular high gloss polyurethane. I like the high gloss because I feel like it makes it look shinier. And I do put it on with a roller. I just have to be careful to get all the bubbles out, especially on the edges, because it kind of drips down over the edges. So if I don't go back over the edges when I roll it like this, I will have bubbles that I have to sand out later, but it does come on pretty smoothly. I've tried other methods, but I just really like the foam roller method. And this has been bothering me that this door is so dirty, so I am going to clean it. I originally had thought about painting it, but I think it looks fine the way that it is, so I didn't end up painting it. Next, these are all of the window treatments that I pulled off. These are the original ones that were in the trailer. And I'm not 100% mad at them, so I am actually going to reuse them, but I'm going to reupholster the parts that are already upholstered to make it match the rest of the trailer. I kind of went back and forth whether I wanted to do like a brown upholstery or a black upholstery, but I ended up on the black. And my main reasoning for that is because I feel like if I would have done brown, it would have blended in with the stained wood pieces on the side. And then I think it would have just meshed too much with all of the stain that I have in there. So I went with black, and I'm really glad that I did because I really liked how it turned out in the end. So right now I am just taking these apart piece by piece, and I'm going to take the old fabric off of this and then put new fabric on top of it. Now to do that, it's very simple, not as complicated as you would think. These do have 7 bazillion gazillion staples in them, and so it's really just a matter of popping the staples up, getting them out, and then pulling off the old kind of vinyl fabric, and it does have some sort of like cushion underneath it. Sometimes I do put more foam padding down. Sometimes it's really not necessary if the wood doesn't have like really sharp edges or anything like that. And this one, again, 7 million gazillion staples. I think that's what took me the longest, is getting all of the staples out of this. I probably could have upholstered over it, but I was worried that if I did that, then the trim pieces on the side would not go back in properly. I'm also going to do reupholster this door padding right here. This is the bathroom. Definitely couldn't leave it that color because it doesn't match anything. And it just has some screwed on kind of like tabs. You pop the top off of it, and then it just screws back in. So that was super easy to get off, and I think it's going to be a nice touch that's going to kind of tie this bathroom into everything else. Now I'm going to go ahead and start sanding all of these blocks down. These were the blocks that were on the side of the window treatments because I'm going to stain them the same color as I've stained everything else to give it a more uniform look. I can get most of it with the palm sander, but then the edges, obviously, I need to get with the hand sander or just a piece of, sandpaper, just to get in all the little tiny spots. And then I can set it out and go ahead and stain it. Again, same color. And I know this feels like a lot of wood and a lot of stain, but that was the look I was going for. Kind of a log cabin-y, modern log cabin type of deal with lots of wood, but darker wood and not lighter wood. Just because I'm just not a fan of like unfinished wood. I don't know. All right, so now that all the staples are out of all of them, this is where I'm going to put new padding on. I don't remember where I got this. I think maybe I got it from Joann's. And the fabric I did get from Joann's. This is the same fabric that I use in all of my trailers, actually, because I really like it. It's stretchy, it's durable, it's like a marine grade vinyl. And I don't know, it's just, I can usually get it on sale for $10 a yard. And if you have a coupon, it's cheaper than that. And it just looks really good. It's a nice finish. So again, I'm going to do the same thing with a door. And you notice that I did not take the upholstery off the door. And that is because it looked fine. There was no need to. I'm not worried about the thickness of this. And I wanted to keep the original padding that was there because I think I didn't have enough of the padding. But I mean, again, people reupholster over stuff all the time. Really, the hard part of this is making sure that that handle part that kind of curves over is nice and like pulled tight. And so it doesn't leave a whole bunch of like weird spots. There was one kind of weird spot that was there that I pulled tight. It almost looks like it might have been too tight. But I'm hoping that with the heat and humidity and all of that stuff, it'll kind of even itself out. Doesn't look terrible, but again, it's one of those things where it definitely looks better than it did. And it doesn't really bother me because I think it'll kind of level itself out. And then I'll just put these screws back in. I'm making sure to get them in the original holes. And that looks fantastic. So now that I've upholstered all of these window treatments, I can go ahead and put these blocks back on. They're nice and dry. These are just held in by, I think, maybe 2 or 3 screws each, and super easy. I'm just trying to get it in the same hole. It's just so much easier to make sure that it's positioned the way that it's supposed to aesthetically, because sometimes if you get it off, one can be higher or lower, or I don't know. It just doesn't makes the most sense to me to try to get it back in the same hole that it was originally in. And most of these I marked before I took them off, so I know which ones go in on which window treatments. All right, so fast forward, all of them are back together, and now I can go ahead and put them in the trailer. So first step is I need to put the window shade in. So that's what you kind of see me messing around with there. There's the window shade, and then I think there's maybe a bracket or something on the actual window treatment itself that needs to go up. So I'm just figuring out the spacing for that. These are just pull down shades. You can customize these to your fit. They are cut to size, and I actually had these cut to size in the store. I think I bought them at Home Depot. You can cut them at home, but you just have to have a good way to cut metal. And literally they put the thing in and it takes them like 3 seconds to cut them. So it saves me time to have Home Depot or Lowe's cut them for me already. I just need to make sure that my sizes are completely accurate. That way they don't cut it too long or too short, and then I have to redo it anyway. So same thing here for the kitchen. The shade is installed, and I'm going to skip showing you that step for most of it because it's fairly easy to install a window shade. Just 2 brackets, and then it kind of pops in. So I can go ahead and put all of these back on, and I haven't put, they all actually have lights that go underneath these window shades, which I thought was pretty cool. And I have new LED lights, so when you turn the light switch on, it kind of lights up and glows underneath all of these window treatments, and it looks so cool. It's like luxury, but not. I don't know if that makes sense. I mean, this trailer is a very high quality trailer, but I've just never seen one with like special lighting underneath the window to give it like a ambiance type of thing. All right, moving on. So next is plumbing. So I'm going to go ahead and assemble most of my plumbing for the sink right now. I kind of just eyeballed it. Again, it doesn't, there's no specific measurement that I do when I do this. I kind of just eyeball it and see what works in my head. And this is just the main part that I know is going to need a few pieces like the plumbing vent. And then usually I have some type of trap adapter there. And obviously a P-trap, and it really just depends on the type of the sink. And for a kitchen sink, it's usually 1.5 inches. For a bathroom sink, it's usually 1.25 inches. So it kind of just depends on what I'm doing. But once I get it all together and in there, I do have a clip where I show you what the entire plumbing system looks like once I've redone it for the sink in the kitchen. And I can't forget this door right here. I feel like this is a common place that people miss, and it brings in a lot of light. And I just thought, especially since this trailer is so small and for privacy purposes, it would be nice to have a window shade right here, which I'm surprised there wasn't already. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and put one in because why not? What's an extra $10 at this point? And it makes a world of a difference when it comes to privacy because, again, this is not a big trailer. It's time to install some of these countertops and steps. This is the step that I was kind of telling you about. As you can see, nice snug fit. I do like a good snug fit. I don't like it super tight, but I do like a snug fit. So it taps right into place. It kind of sits against that couch, and I'm using a piece of wood just to kind of tap it in place to make sure that I don't hurt the countertop or hurt the step because I worked hard on it. I don't want to ruin it. After that, I just staple it in, and that's that. You're not going to be able to access underneath that. There should be no reason you need to access underneath that. So that's why I stapled that in instead of screwing it in. Plus, screws are kind of an eyesore. Okay. All right, so now I can go ahead and start putting this trim back in. This is the original trim that framed out this door. And what I did is I spray painted it. It was plastic. And it was like brownish, and I wanted it to be black. So I spray painted it, and it kind of just sits in the channel. So I made sure to make the door width and everything the same. That way this trim would fit right back in. And there's I'm going to put a door right here. Sorry, I don't know why I just had a brain fart. There's going to be a door right here, and I wasn't entirely sure what I wanted to do with this. The door that was here was ruined, so I could have made a new door. But then I was like, well, is there really a need to have a big bulky door right here? And so instead, I decided to use one of the shower doors that I have one installed in the shower actually that I'm about to do. But this one, I bought another one because I was like, you know what? There's really no need to have a bulky door here. We can have a sliding door. There wasn't enough room for a pocket door, so that was kind of the next best option to have privacy, but also at the same time not have something that's going to take up a bunch of space and close out that area. Because again, there's no vent in that bathroom. So if that door is closed, it's going to get very warm in there very quickly. Also, this is my metal bandsaw. I got this for free, and it's one of my favorite tools when it comes to cutting metal. As you can see, you just clamp it in, and it slowly just goes down and cuts it like a bandsaw would cut it. And then when it drops all the way down, that's that. And then I kind of made a boo-boo, and I bought the wrong size door, and it was like 2 inches too short. So instead of buying a new door, I added this extension right here to the wall. So the door is actually going to sit against that extension and then pull all the way over. And I think it looks pretty good. I was trying to rack my brain to figure out how I was going to add this without it looking really like sketchy. But then I had some of the extra shower material that I basically made a cover for and glued it in. And it looks fantastic. I was actually really happy with how that came out. So these shower doors, the way they attach is it's basically 4 pieces. You have the door that has adhesive on it, and you stick it to whatever you want to stick it on. I usually put a screw at the top and the bottom. And then there's a rail that it attaches to on the other side, and then the top and the bottom piece. And my tripod fell back, as you can see. And so the top and the bottom piece is what I cut to size. RecPro just avoids the warranty if you do this because obviously they don't want you sitting something back that they can't reuse. So keep in the back of your mind, if you cut those rails to whatever size you need it, they won't warranty that. Okay, so this is that metal piece that I was telling you about at the beginning of the video. It's painted, I'm screwing it in, and it's just a much better option to keep all of this wood in place, and it ain't coming off. Ooh, I just saw a hawk, sorry, that was total ADHD moment, but I had to stop and take a video of this. Look at that big guy. He just flew over and landed right there. Anyway, sorry, that was a tangent. All right, so trim, I'm going to put some more trim on these 2 pieces right here. There's 2 pieces of plywood, and it just looks much nicer once that seam right there is covered up. And then I'm going to clean everything up here, and then I'm going to kind of go over and paint the trim piece, and then any of the small spots that I missed where I filled in any nail holes or anything else like that, I'm just going to fill that in while I'm here because for the most part, I am done with that area. So now it's time to install the kitchen countertop, and as you can see, I had to take the fridge back out to be able to fasten this and install it. I'm just screwing this into the framing that's already there, and I can't screw this into the wall because the tile is there. So it's really just screwed into the gooseneck and that other side. And now I can put the stove in. So how the stove is the gas line kind of weaves into this rectangular piece, and then there's a fitting that just connects to the gas stove. And so I'm just connecting those two fittings. Very simple, just 2 wrenches, screw them together, make sure it's nice and tight. And I will test this just to make sure that it's not leaking before I cover everything up. But then again, screw it in, and this is me just testing it with soapy water. Again, spray it. Make sure that there's no bubbles, and if there's no bubbles, you're good to go. And I'm going to go ahead and finish putting the knobs on and putting everything else back together. All right, so now that that's in, I'm going to go ahead and put the sink in. Most of these fixtures that you're going to see in this video and appliances and decorations and all that stuff, I do have linked in my Amazon storefront under Western Horse Trailer Reno. So check that out if you want to see what I use. The couch is also included in there. I really like this sink because it comes with a drain. This is a 13 by 15. It's a top mount RV sink. I really like the top mount sinks because you don't have to have a whole bunch of extra brackets like the undermount sinks. I just don't like the undermount ones. They're not my favorite. So how I mount these, it's very simple. They ain't gonna come up. So I just put some silicone down, and then I press it, and then I make sure it's flat, and then I get some soapy water, clean up the edges just to make sure that there's not a bunch of silicone squishing out of the sides. That's literally it. If you want to use the brackets to put underneath the sink, you can, but in my experience, this silicone is more than enough to keep this sink down, because it's not like you have somebody at the bottom of the sink that's pressing up continuously, and there's no reason that this should come up. Plus, it's also fastened by the kitchen faucet right here because it's actually in the actual sink itself. And there is a nut that I'm feeding up through the water lines that's going to screw this faucet into the countertop and into the sink itself. So this thing is not going anywhere. So after it's all hooked up, this is what the plumbing looks like. I know not a great video of it, but you can see there's a trap adapter coming out, and then a P-trap, and then it kind of just goes up into the sink with a an extension neck, and that's literally it. It's very simple. So moving on to the shower, I'm going to go ahead and put the shower head on. I put some silicone, people yell at me, behind that cap right there, and then I will put some Teflon tape on this fitting and then screw the shower head in, and then I will kind of do the same thing to the bottom where the handle is. So again, silicone, I don't want any water getting behind there. That's why I'm putting silicone there. And then the trim piece goes on, and then the handle goes on. I think it's just like a little tiny screw, like an Allen wrench screw that kind of holds the handle on. And that's that. Now it's time for the mattress. So I have always used this mattress in every single trailer. It's a great mattress for the price. This is a short queen, and it's affordable, it's comfortable, I like it. Now, it's especially important with horse trailers that you don't get a 12-inch thick mattress because you don't have a whole lot of room up there to begin with. So if you get a 12-inch mattress, you're not going to be able to sit up in bed without your head hitting the ceiling. So definitely something to think about. So at this point, I have pressure tested the water lines. Gas has been tested. That was just me making sure that the plumbing wasn't leaking. So before a new trailer goes out, I do a pressure test again, and then I check for leaks. I run a whole bunch of water through the system, check to make sure all the plumbing is holding up, and that nothing's leaking. And if it is, then it's good to go. And there was a hole right here where the original wiring was for the bathroom skylight, for the vent that's up there. And so to cover that, I'm putting this little box here, and that new vent actually has a remote. And so the remote is going to go in that box. I also have to make sure to put latches on all of the cabinet doors, because if you don't, your cabinets will fly open, and you don't want that going down the road. So this is the LED lights that I was telling you guys about earlier that kind of goes behind the window treatments here. It has adhesive on it and just sticks to the underside, and I think it looked so cool. So I'm cutting off the old one, just connecting the wires, and then just, kind of sticking it on there, making sure that I rub it really well to make sure that it's going to stick. And that is pretty much all there is to that, other than the wiring is covered by the trim piece that I put in around the window. And so the wiring gets tucked into the window trim piece so that you don't see it. And then that's that. Looks really great. Now, this is one of my favorite pieces that I made for this trailer. So I am actually cutting strips for an accent wall here, and you'll see in just a minute what it's for, but I just want to cut a whole bunch of strips for that. I'll end up sanding it down and staining it. Now, this is a custom, it's like a banner almost. So you can get all different sizes. I actually bought this from Mulberry Market Designs. I found them on Instagram and I absolutely loved her work. They had a whole bunch of different things, but this specific one, it says the Lord is my shepherd, and the lady that I'm giving it to, if y'all knew her, you'd be like, this is the absolute perfect scripture for her. Because there's so many reasons. Anyway, I'll get to that later. But I wanted this also to be the same stain as everything else. So I got it unfinished, taped it off, and then stained it. And now I can go ahead and hang it. I'm just hanging it with 4 screws, 2 on the top, 2 on the bottom. And I am hanging it where there's framing here. So it's not going to go anywhere, even though it's very light. So you can technically probably screw this into 1/4-inch plywood and it would stick perfectly fine. But I'm just making sure that it's level according to the ceiling and that it's straight. And this is one of my favorite pieces. All right, so this is my accent wall that I was telling you about. So I'm going to start with this trim piece right here. That way I kind of have a vantage point from the bottom so I can build up. I wasn't really sure when I started this what I wanted it to look like. I kind of was just playing with it until I found a design that I liked. So I'm going to have some diagonal pieces here. There's, I think, 5 different diagonal pieces that I'm going to put evenly spaced apart. And to put this on, I just kind of mark it. I think maybe I did 6 inches apart for each space. I have cut the angle already on the left-hand side there, which just makes it a lot easier to kind of staple in. So that's at a 45-degree angle already. And then there's glue on the back and then just some short nails. And so I'm going to keep going, 1, 2, and then there's 3. I think I may have accidentally cut out putting the 5th one in, but that's why you see me working so slow here, is because, again, I'm not sure what I wanted. I was kind of just making it up as I go. I know I wanted most of the wall to be covered in wood. And I also know that I wanted my logo on there. So this is the part where I add the logo. I thought it was really cool. I don't know if you guys know what my logo is, but it's basically one big mountain in the middle. And then on either side is another mountain, slightly smaller, and then another mountain on the other side, slightly smaller than that. And that is just something that I made up about 5 years ago. I used to do wood burning, and I would have this specific design wood burned and put on the middle of the slide in every camper that I did. So that was kind of my mark when I first started. And I just really like how it looked. And it just reminds me that, God is there in the mountains and in the valleys. And I think maybe that's why I liked it, is because it's got all of those. So that was very simple, but I think it looks really good, and I can't wait for you guys to see it at the end of the video all put together. I do have some more trim work to do, and so I'll just kind of put all that stuff in, paint it. Really, this is just final touches type of stuff. Again, this is the same nail gun that I use all the time. Absolutely love this nail gun. This is the Linknall nail gun. I've been using this for years, and it's hilarious because I think I've said this before. TikTok Shop came out with these, and I was like, I have that. I have had that for years. So I don't know. Nobody ever buys anything when I post about it on TikTok, because I feel like it's kind of annoying when people do that. feel like TikTok is now all just selling stuff, but whatever. Anyway, okay, so back to this. There's water lines right there, and it kind of annoyed me that they were just sticking out and it was an eyesore. So I made a little tiny box to hide the water lines, and that looks so much better than it did before. Now I'm going to make a step stool. So something about this trailer that was really kind of unavoidable is the couch is a little bit higher off the ground than I would like it to be. But there's nothing that I can do about that because of the height of the water tank. Because, the water tank's underneath it, the furnace is underneath it. There's a whole bunch of things that was kind of out of my control. Unless I wanted to get a smaller water tank, but I don't want to do that because if she carries horses, she's going to need that water for the horses. And so I didn't want to take away from the water capacity. So because of that, I'm going to build a little stool. If they wanted to use this stool to kind of put their feet on, if they don't have long legs like me, while they're sitting on the couch, they can do that. If they wanted to use this stool to put it on the step that's already there as an extra step, then I figured it could kind of serve a dual purpose. Now, after I framed it out, it's just 1.5 by 1.5 plywood that 2x4s that I've cut up. This is just 1/4 inch plywood, and I'm adding some trim pieces to the corner. For the top piece, I used some scrap 3/4 inch plywood. It's actually the scrap pieces that I cut out from the sink and the stove. I don't remember which one it is, but I remember it was one of those pieces. So very easy, very simple to make. And I feel like it's going to be a nice touch. And then I just kind of fill in all of the nail holes, sand it down, obviously make sure that everything is centered correctly, staple this on top. I think I ran out of staples, which is why I walked away. Oh, no, my air compressor cut off. Anyway, just staple it, fill in the holes. This is all going to be painted anyway, so I'm not entirely concerned about stapling the top part. Okay, we've almost made it. So we are in the cleaning phase right now, which means that I am almost done with the renovation by the time I start cleaning, because when I clean, that means that I'm ready to stage. I lied. Well, this is not really considered that. So this is the table that I made. I'm adding the base to it. And so this is just, it's some pipe that I had. And I'm not 100% happy with how this table turned out because I feel like if somebody would knock it really hard, it would pop out of the base. It's not in the base right now, but I'll show you when it's done. I'm just kind of marking where this table would go. So my problem is I could not find an aluminum piece that was that long. So, the regular standard, RV tables. That's the pieces that I used. I had some leftover pieces from that, but my poles were not long enough to go and match the height of the couch. So I used some PVC pipe and I kind of adapted it to fit in these pieces. One of them I countersunk into the floor right there. And then I'll show you at the end, the table kind of just sits in it. I think there's probably a better way to do it, but that's what I came up with, and if they want to use the table, at least they have the option. All right, so before I start staging a camper, I actually move it because it makes me feel like it's not in a dirty space and I can clean it better and I'm not tracking in grass all in the camper. So this is the spot where I park my camper. So I just hooked it up and I'm pulling it out and then I can back it back in straight. And I also like to do this because it makes it a lot easier for my clients to come pick it up. Because the way my driveway is laid out, they could just pull out, swing it wide, and then they're good. So it just makes life a lot easier to do it that way. And here is my haul. So I have a whole bunch of pillows. I have a wreath, some plants, just a whole bunch of things that you'll see me put together. I can go ahead and uncover this couch finally. I'm so glad that I covered this couch because sometimes I can clean it and it'll be fine, but why do that if you can just cover it and you don't have to clean it? So I'm just going to get all of the dust and all the fingerprints and all of the yucky off of all the countertops and the window treatments, make it look nice and shiny and clean. Same with the floors. I'll sweep the floor and then I'll go back with, They're just like wet mops or whatever that you can buy. You can buy it anywhere. But I really like those because I can use multiple of them, because usually by this point the floor is very dirty. And this is when I don't wear shoes in these campers anymore. It's because everything's clean. So now time for the bedspread. This is how I put a fitted sheet on. It's not glamorous. This actually came with the set that I bought. I don't usually buy sheets for it because I feel like some people are kind of weird about sheets, but this actually came with it. So I found this bedspread and I absolutely love it. It was on Amazon. I feel like it was bright enough to make it stand out, but not enough color where it would clash, and it had the browns and the blacks in it to kind of blend in with everything else, but also it was a little bit westerny, which I absolutely loved. So a whole bunch of pillows later, and this is what we're ending up with. I did buy this accent pillow from Hobby Lobby that I thought was perfect. It's a giant, it's not a cow. What is it? It's the one with, it's a longhorn. Sorry. It's a giant longhorn. And I thought it was so cool. Bathroom rug and then front rug. This I actually got from Walmart. I thought that was kind of cool. And then we have some accent pillows here. I kind of just play around with it depending on what looks best for each one. And then I do like that longhorn pillow. I just feel like it adds so much to it, especially since my client owns cows. She farms cattle. And so I just thought that was such a cool little touch. And if you guys have ever watched any of my other renovations, you know that I love this trick and I've been doing it for years. I buy regular pillows and then I take the stuffing out of them and I stuff them in pillow covers. And so they become real pillows. You just unzip it and there's the stuff. But it works perfectly because you think a pillow is like $3.50 and I can usually get 1.5 maybe pillows, 2 pillows out of each bag depending on how full I want the pillows. But this trick is absolutely wonderful and it's so much cheaper than buying the fill at like, any other craft store. So these are going to be the pillows for the couch, and I think they blend in really nicely with the blanket, but it's not too much. And then I just have this throw that I'm going to kind of drape over the side here. I always like having a throw there because why not? And then I have a wreath to add a little bit of color because I do like some greenery in here. I feel like it kind of breaks up all of the other colors. Just mounted that directly to the wall. And then this is the final product. A year in the making. I'm so sorry it took me so long to get through all this footage, but it turned out phenomenal. Now, as you watch the rest of this video, I want to read to you and leave you with the scripture that I chose to put on the wall of this trailer. And I know some of you probably know this already, but Psalm 23 says, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever." That's Psalm 23, which is what I chose to put on the wall of this trailer because it is just such a comfort to me. And I hope it's been a comfort to you too. I will see you guys on the next renovation.